This is the Kevin Trudeau Show.
I am exposing the corruption in government and in major multinational corporations. We're telling you the things that they don't want you to know that will make your life better.
Hey everybody, Kevin Trudeau here. This is the show where you learn everything they don't want you to know about. Man, that sounds kind of interesting, doesn't it? Well, I'll tell you what, they definitely don't want you to know about everything I am revealing from behind the curtain. As a former insider, knowing what the government and they don't want you to know about. So much so that on the various platforms that I am broadcasting, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple, etc., subscribers are being mysteriously kicked off and unsubscribed to this channel. If you type in the Kevin Trudeau Show, mysteriously, our show doesn't even show up. So if you go to some of these platforms and type in the Kevin Trudeau Show, which is the name of this, it's the Kevin Trudeau Show channel, mysteriously, our shows don't even show up. Our videos are being suppressed. The show is being suppressed. There's more that I know that I can't say because I am in court, as you know. And the U.S. government is trying to shut this show down, shut down the Kevin Trudeau fan club, stop me from writing books, stop me from doing my monthly Zooms with partners of the fan club. They want to stop the dissemination of information that I am giving. They definitely do not want you to know this information. Censorship is in full swing. The suppression of free speech, not just in America, all over the world, is in full swing. This is what, throughout history, the powers that be, the elite class, always want to suppress the free flow of ideas and information. Before there were books, peasants were forbidden to learn how to read and write. You had things on tablets or on the walls, paintings, hieroglyphics. Only the priests, only the pharaohs, only the people in power could read and write. Everybody else couldn't. And this allowed those in power to come in and saying, I will tell you what the gods have said. You must do this, and you must do this. It is written. Well, nobody could read anyway. They could make up anything they wanted. When books came out, people started learning to read and write. Well, how do they suppress the information? By banning books. And throughout history, since books have been written, people have been burned at the stake because they wrote books that the governments did not like, revealing information or just sharing opinions and ideas that threatened those in power. This is happening right now. The government is coming after me. As you know, they've been coming after me for decades. Hey, let's give the government side of the story. If I had the Mr. FTC here, hey, Mr. FTC, why are you going after Kevin Trudeau? Well, Kevin Trudeau is a liar. He's a snake oil salesman. He's a fraudster, and he's a scammer. And he is lying to consumers and ripping them off by selling them junk. His books are junk and dangerous because they're full of lies. All of his audio programs are junk. They're dangerous and full of lies. Everything that Kevin Trudeau says is a lie. Everything that Kevin Trudeau says should be stopped because he is infiltrating the minds of susceptible people with fake information, with misinformation. He has ripped off millions. That's what the FTC says. Excuse me. Mr. FTC, have you ever presented one person out of the tens of millions of people that have bought things from Mr. Trudeau, actually the hundreds of millions around the world, have you ever presented in court even one person, one of the hundreds of millions probably, or 100 million or 50 million, whatever the number is, of people that have bought from Trudeau, have you presented even one person who said, I was ripped off by what Mr. Trudeau said in his book? I bought his book and I was ripped off. No. No? I'm sorry. Did you say that again? No. Never in decades. You haven't found one customer, not one, who said that they bought something and felt ripped off. Folks, that tells the tale, doesn't it? But have you found millions, tens of millions of people who said, not only did I buy one thing from Kevin Trudeau, but another book and another book and another book and another book, and I love what he says. And I found that what he says to be helpful, empowering, and life-changing in a positive way. So here we are. I'm still fighting decades later. And by the way, I told you on the last show, I don't have to be here. I would not be dealing with the government. I'd have no lawsuits against me if I simply stopped this show. As a matter of fact, off the record, the government has told me, Trudeau, look, it isn't us, it isn't me, it's the higher-ups. You know that. You know the political connections that are pushing people at the Federal Trade Commission. You know that. We're being told what to do. We're just following orders. You know that. I go, yeah, I know. We can't, I have a job. I have a family. I have a career to think about. So I have to do what the higher-ups at the FTC say, and I'm just an FTC person, and I have to do that. Okay. But I know this, Mr. Trudeau. If you vanish, if you just stop writing books, if you stop making speeches, if you shut down the fan club and stop doing the monthly Zoom calls with your partners, if you stop doing seminars and revealing information, if you stop all your podcasts and shows on Rumble and YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, if you just shut it all down, everything will stop against you. Everything will stop. And you can go off into the sunset and you can create tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in business. You've done it before. You know all these people are lined up. They want to do business with you. All you have to do is just stay out of the public eye and stop telling everybody what you know. That is the deal. And a long time ago, this happened where I was offered millions, tens of millions to go away. And I said, I got to sleep on it. And I prayed about it, and I thought about it, and I went into the field, and it wasn't a right or wrong answer. It was a choice. Which path do I want to go on? Do I want to fulfill my purpose and destiny and burn off my karma in this lifetime? Or do I want to go the easy route and have to come back another lifetime and deal with karma? Well, I decided, I've lived a good life. I've lived an amazing life. The Rolls Royces, the Ferraris, and all that stuff. This is exciting. And it really is in alignment with why I'm here. So that's why I've said before, I have no problem with the path that I've chosen, even though it's a bumpy one, because it's the road to Hana, paradise. So it's all good. It's all good. With that said, I found something I'm going to share with you today. You're going to love this. Absolutely love it. By the way, make sure you subscribe. And if they unsubscribed you, resubscribe to the show. Like the show, leave comments, and make sure you share it with as many people as you can. I told you before, and I'll say it again. We're coming up here very quickly toward the end of the year. And in December, I'm going to be having a sit down with all my people. And if the views of these shows aren't dramatically higher than they are now, and if the number of subscribers are not dramatically higher, I will shut it down, because this is a huge amount of work and I do not get paid to do this. I do not take a nickel to do this. The money that comes in goes to pay the overheads, and the rest goes to the lawyers and goes to the government. I take nothing. I live on $3,750 a month, and that's it. That's what I'm allowed to live on. I can't live on any more, and I have to present every 2 months a report to the court showing every single dollar that came in, and that I'm only living on $3,750. I'm not getting any money from any other sources, unless somebody buys me a dinner or something, or gives me $10 for my birthday, or buys me a cigar. I mean, you understand. So I don't have to do this. So make sure you subscribe, you like, you leave comments, and you share this with everybody you can. It's really up to you. Everybody watching has the power to get this show into the millions of subscribers and views every week. You have the power. It's not me, it's you. The way these things go viral is you start sharing them on your TikTok account, on your X account, on your Facebook account, on your LinkedIn account, etc., Instagram account. You start sharing and sharing and sharing with everybody on your list and posting it everywhere. It's up to you. And many of you are not doing it. And when I go off the air, if I do because I don't have the numbers, you're going to say, how come it's off the air? You got to do your part. I'm doing mine. Listen, you go 1 mile, I'll go 10. But you got to go at least a mile. But I got something here you're going to love. Many people know that back in the day, before I went away to prison for contempt of court, because I refused to stop talking about my books on TV. That was the contempt, by the way. The government said that I was misrepresenting the contents of the book in the way I presented it. And I said, you got to stop doing that. And I said, I'm not misrepresenting anything. I'm reading the book. How am I misrepresenting the contents of the book when I'm opening up and reading it? How is that misrepresenting the contents? Let me tell you what's in the book. I open it and I read it. I didn't misrepresent the contents. How stupid. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, back then, I was on every major talk show being interviewed. I was on the Today Show with Matt Lauer, CNN, Fox News with Bill O'Reilly, you name the show. And I was on the front page of every newspaper, Wall Street Journal, Sunday, some of these, like New York Times Sunday front page. That's like the biggest of the week. And it was a big article, not just a little blurb. I mean, like massive, like 2-page spreads. So I had all this, and one interview that I did, which was missing, it went missing. Surprise? It mysteriously vanished. It's like not on hard drives. It's like nowhere to be found. I was interviewed by Alex Jones, and I was interviewed several times. I was in Europe, and I did several interviews on the telephone with him. And then he asked me to come to Austin, Texas, where his offices were. And I flew down, and he interviewed me live in the studio. And I was watching. We found it, by the way. We found it. So I was watching it, and I thought, people need to hear this. You need to hear this interview. Now, whether you like Alex Jones or don't like Alex Jones, that's irrelevant. Whether you support his views or not, that's really irrelevant. He was interviewing me. I'll do an interview with anyone because I love everybody unconditionally, without condition and without exception. I may disagree with somebody's views or opinions or thoughts. That's fine. But they're still a person that inside is pure love and light. And I have total compassion, no judgment, no criticism. I can have discussions without having any internal conflict or anger or stress or whatever. It's a beautiful place to be, and you can get there too, and I can take you there. It's called paradise. But I was interviewed by Alex Jones, and I was watching this. I shared some things there that you need to hear. So watch. Now, this is not very clear because we found it. I don't know where we found it. I think it was on a VHS tape or something. So it's not crystal clear. The audio isn't 100%, but you are going to love this. This was an interview I did, I believe it was in 2009, right around there, with Alex Jones live in his studio in Austin, Texas. Take a look at this.
It is Friday, November 20th, 2009. We're going to be live here for the next 4 hours. And we're simulcasting from the very beginning of the radio show at prisonplanet.tv and Living Color. Why am I doing that today? Because we've got the infomercial king and so much more, the alternative medicine king. I mean, you name it. Kevin Trudeau. People in the office, when he's been walking around this morning, are just standing there with their mouths hanging open. He's with us in studio for the first hour because that was the only hour he could do. He's meeting with some scientists and researchers here in Austin as he travels around the country and the world investigating alternative treatments and cures. So he's here with us in studio. He has won his appeal against the federal government, a big victory for free speech, because he's one of the few Americans to ever have his books banned and to have his free speech banned by a federal court. And, of course, they lost because we are saving this republic before it completely falls. So we're going to talk about the food supply, vaccines, gold, the inside info he has on that front, how he won his appeal, and where Kevin Trudeau is going from here, and some of the amazing medical information that he's been discovering in his world travels. Then we've got Neil Fallon, the lead singer and guitarist for Clutch. A lot of listeners of ours are fans. I'm a fan. Their lyrics are totally anti-New World Order. Of course, we know that Megadeth just named their new album after Endgame. We had Dave Mustaine on to talk about that. So the culture war is on, and it's not left or right. It's about liberty versus tyranny. And then Bob Chapman with his once-a-week visit with us on the economy. Certainly an important discussion we're going to be having today. And I got some bad news for you. The good news is Kevin Trudeau's here. The bad news, we told you, Senate health vote set for Saturday night. The debate starts. They can pass it anytime next week. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the criminal bankers hijacking another 17th percent of the U.S. economy. Kevin Trudeau, thanks for being here with us.
Hey, my pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you. We're about to go to break, but in the 2 minutes we've got left, tell folks about some of the info you're going to be sharing with us today.
First thing is, I have been really the first guy that the federal government said, we want to take away his First Amendment rights. And they went to the judge and said, we want his books banned. This is what the federal government, the Federal Trade Commission, and the reason why they're trying to ban the books, and they actually got the judge to take me off television, radio, and the internet. I can't exercise my First Amendment rights for 3 years, was because 50 million people have purchased my books where I exposed the corruption in government and the drug companies, the banking industry, and the fast food industry, and how it all works together with the media. The good news is I won the appeal. The appeals court vacated the $37 million fine that the judge threw on me, and they vacated the 3-year ban. But now we're back in court, and now the Federal Trade Commission is asking the judge in their papers, we want the First Amendment rights for Kevin Trudeau taken away for life.
Wow.
And it's really amazing. So I'll be fighting that for probably the next year.
But when you say you're the first person in modern history, I guess some of that happened during World War I with the Trading with the Enemy Act, to say silence this guy, and I've read their court filings, it's been all over the national news the last few years, for listeners that don't know, where they really say you are enemy number one and must be shut down, because they know if they can knock off the king of alternative information on television, then they can go after everybody else.
And what it does is it scares everybody else. Because of the attacks on me, I don't mind the fight. And luckily, I've had the financing to spend virtually tens of millions of dollars over the years fighting them. But everybody else in the industry is just scared like rabbits. So they are going back into their hole. So the government is using this to scare everybody else and stop them from doing. But they won't go after Pfizer. I mean, Pfizer was fined criminally four times, and recently just fined $2.7 billion for criminal fraud in the marketing of their drugs. That's not front page news. No one even talks about it. They were fined 4 times for criminal fraud, but guess what? Not a single person at Pfizer was charged.
Let's go over your case and how important this is for the First Amendment. Whether you love Kevin Trudeau or hate him, and I happen to like him, you've got to ask yourself, why is the government and the media so angry with this person? And we'll discuss all that on the other side of this quick break. Well, on this Friday edition, November 20th, 2009, we have Kevin Trudeau in studio. And, it's hard to put this guy in a box and really say what he is. He's done so much. Author, lecturer, top infomercial guy on television. And he has raised the ire of the federal government. They said, you can't sell your books, you can't go on radio, you can't go on TV, you have no First Amendment. Well, he didn't back off. He's still gone on radio and television. He came on this radio show, and now he has beaten them with his appeal in court because it was so flagrantly unconstitutional. And again, whether you agree with everything Kevin says or agree with some of it or agree with a little bit of it or all of it, all of us either hang together or hang separate, as Benjamin Franklin said, when the government and the media team up to come demonize somebody and say we must crucify them, we must shut them down, we must openly persecute them, we must give them $25 million or $27 million fines, we have a problem. Look at Merck, knowingly putting out Vioxx, knowing it would cause heart attacks. Look at Merck with the Gardasil shots in their own trials, knowing it was causing autoimmune diseases and killing people. Now confirmed mainstream news. We told you 3 years ago during the trials. In 1981, Eli Lilly and Prozac, they knew massive increases in suicide, psychotic breaks, homicidal mania. Now it's on the inserts. 20-something years later, or 19 years later, they've been forced to put it on the inserts. So you have these big drug giants that want a monopoly, and Kevin Trudeau's writing books about well-known alternative treatments and cures that are known in Europe and Asia, and he's being demonized as the ultimate snake oil salesman. When I've read a lot of his books, I haven't seen all his material, but a lot of it really looks legitimate from what medical doctors and others have said on this show. But regardless, even if he was wrong, he has a First Amendment right. If Kevin Trudeau is successfully destroyed by these people, everyone else is next. Obama's openly announcing he wants to regulate and shut down the web for national security. They're openly announcing they want to federalize all your local police. The power structure, the big Fortune 100, want to consolidate the markets. They want to shut down freedom of choice. And that's why Kevin Trudeau is here today, really on a crusade to fight this, because he's one of the only people that's had the money to go after these people. And he's one of the only people I've ever heard of in the last century who's actually had his books banned in the United States. We're going to talk about it all today. Kevin, when we hit that break, you were starting to get into the criminal activity. I mean, Bayer knowingly shipping out over 1 million ampules of Factor 8, knowing it had HIV and hepatitis in it. But they're not getting in trouble. It's you, because you're saying vitamin C is good.
Exactly. When I first did this, I mentioned last time I was on the show when I was calling in from Germany, Sean Shanahan had Hooked on Phonics in 1989, teaching kids how to read because the school systems were pulling phonics out of the schools. I introduced Mega Memory, and I exposed that the Department of Education was getting school systems to get the kids on the drug Ritalin, and they were giving $500 a month per kid who was on Ritalin. And I said, they're drugging the kids on purpose. The school system's drugging the kids on purpose.
And I remember watching that when I was in college. That's why you've been enemy number one all along, because you immediately went after their drugging of the kids.
And I see, people don't understand. I got the phone call. The phone call was, we need to have a meeting from the Federal Trade Commission, and they said, you have to stop talking about Ritalin. That was a one-on-one meeting, and I said, that's the point of the Mega Memory program. Sure, it improves your memory, but I'm exposing the drug Ritalin. And I will not back down. And they said to me, we will not back down either. They sued Sean Shanahan with Hooked on Phonics, bankrupted him. They sued me. I fought back, basically won that. But then they've been on a crusade ever since to demonize me as the messenger. But they never said that the Mega Memory program, for example, didn't work. They never said that there are customers who bought Mega Memory and didn't get a refund. And then when it came out, Natural Cures, they don't want you to know about that book, which was #1 on the New York Times bestseller list 26 weeks in a row. In 2004, it was the #1 selling book in America. It outsold Harry Potter. It outsold the Da Vinci Code. When I came out with that book, I exposed how the pharmaceutical companies were basically fraudulently lying to people about the research, about the efficacy and safety of their drugs. Now, what just came out yesterday? That the pharmaceutical companies write these letters saying how good a drug is. They go to the doctors at the medical schools, the PhDs, and say, sign this letter, make believe it came from you, and we'll pay you $100,000. Now, I exposed that in 2004.
And now that's coming out that all the major boards pushing all the vaccines, they're all on the payroll, but they're not making $100,000 now. Some of these guys are making $500,000 a year just to sit there and say you need this.
And doesn't it include the secret stock options and the warrants they're getting as well? So that's why I've been pushing, and that's why the Federal Trade Commission, which does a pretty good job in the media, saying Kevin Trudeau's a snake oil salesman, he's a convicted felon. Well, what snake oil am I selling? I'm not selling Vioxx. That seems like snake oil.
Well, they're trying to discredit you because I remember, you've been doing this so long, I remember when I was a senior in high school and then in college, I'd be sitting around the dorm watching you, and I remember you talking about Ritalin on TV, and going back through my memory, you're one of the first people that really woke me up to that, and now they admit it shrinks the children's brains, causes their heart to swell, retards growth, retards their psychological development, their mental development. Everybody knows Ritalin's bad now, and it was really Kevin Trudeau.
I was one of the first guys. You talk a lot about fluoride in the water. I talk about fluoride in the water. We talk about the genetically modified food, how it caused illnesses and disease, the antibiotics in meat and dairy, the bovine growth hormone in meat and dairy. Why do we have such obesity in America? The report came out 2 days ago that said in the next 7 years, over 50% of Americans are going to be not just fat or overweight, obese. Obese. Why is it rising when more people are on diet food? More people are going to the gym ever before in America, but the obesity rate and the overweight rate keeps going up and up and up and up.
Oh, listen, 50, 60 years ago, everybody working on our family farms, I've seen photos of them in old film footage. They were all super skinny, but they ate gigantic, huge piling meals.
A lot of fat, a lot of beef, a lot of dairy, a lot of carbohydrates. Nobody was on diet food. There was no light beer. They were eating real beer. They weren't on aspartame and Splenda. These chemicals are being specific. And I've been in the meetings. When I was involved in the marketing of some of the stuff behind the scenes and in developing some of the mind-controlled advertising, I was there. How can we say something to make it legal in the words, but have the person's impression be what's not true? That's how the marketing was done. And so coming out and exposing this, that's why I'm public enemy number one to the government, especially the pharmaceutical industry. When I went on Larry King, I was booked on Larry King right after I did the Today Show with Matt Lauer. I was on Matt Lauer Live. Right after I did the live show with Matt Lauer, I got a cancellation from Larry King. And Larry called me and said, I'm really sorry, and I have to tell you, I was ordered to take you off the air because CNN executives do not want you live because you won't do what we tell you to say. When I was on with Donnie Deutsch on CNBC, first thing he said, don't talk about the drug companies. So that's the problem.
Well, that's like 40% of their advertising.
Yeah, you can't go on there. And I've been offered deals. Just stop talking about fluoride, stop talking about the drug companies, and we'll give you a free pass.
Well, I can't imagine the deals you were offered. Back when I was like on 10 radio stations in 98 and 99, I was approached by some of the biggest radio networks, and they said point blank, no more Federal Reserve, no more black helicopters, no more New World Order. You can be the next Rush Limbaugh. How does, $1 million the first year, 15 million the next sound? And I said, I can't stop talking about the truth. And now look at us all these years later. House Finance Service Committee approves bill to audit the Fed, rejecting Watt's fake alternative in the House, and votes to rein in foreign currency swaps. So the beginning of the end for these people is now here. The public now looks past Republicans and Democrats, the puppets. They're now seeing the power structure. And it just shows that not selling out has now paid off for the truth and freedom. We're not winning yet, but we're beginning to get there.
And what's happening is you're seeing it as well. The bigger voice you have and the more that people begin to listen to you, that's when the attacks start coming.
Oh, my gosh. I've got, no exaggeration, over 20 attacks the last 2 days. CBS News, Jerusalem Post, George Soros, Media Matters. It's just, it's unbelievable.
Correct. So when you start having an influence, that's when you get the attacks. Now, my books, 50 million copies have been sold. On TV, I have more impressions than anybody else in the last decade, even Oprah. So I'm having a huge influence. I've had over 70 million customers buy my stuff. I had 3 TV networks in Europe. I had manufacturing facilities in China. So I had a big influence, and I'm having a big influence, and that's one of the reasons why I'm the snake oil salesman. I'm the fraudster. I'm the person deceiving America. Talk about smoke and mirrors. Where are all the people that have been deceived? Where are all the customers? Remember Dr. Phil, he wrote a book called The Ultimate Weight Loss Solution. Now, the guy's chubby. I don't know how he could write a book on the ultimate weight loss solution, but it was fraud. And what happened? The people who bought it sued him. There was a class action suit, and he settled for $10 million because he was deceiving the public. Look, you can't sell 50 million copies of a book, and if you're deceiving the public, not get sued.
But regardless, it's not the government to be the arbiter. It's the lawsuits. It's not the government to be the arbiter to say, Kevin Trudeau, because I don't get all the big hubbub. I've read several of your books on cures you're not supposed to know about and things, And this is stuff that I've already heard 50 times from, I'm not poo-pooing your book, it's stuff I've already heard from medical doctors.
It's not new.
It's like, oh, get vitamin D, get sunshine. Oh, my God, this is so evil.
There's nothing in there that they never attack the message. Because the message is in everybody else's book. Maybe I presented it in a better way.
Yeah, you put it on TV and put it in a nice book.
People are reading it. That's the point. People are reading it. But the one thing in my book that's different than the other ones, why the attacks, is I expose big pharma.
No, that's it. You give people solutions, but then you also expose the problem.
That's correct.
That's the difference.
And that's the difference, because they told me if I take that out, there'll be no problem.
Because they don't want alternative media to be activist, and instead of just getting in a fetal position to their attacks, you stand up and fight them.
Correct. Now, they didn't attack me on the Debt Curers book and the free money, where I exposed the corruption with the banking industry, because that was already going on at the grassroots level anyway. So when I started exposing the specific corruption in the banking industry and how the consumers are getting ripped off, like, look at your credit card statement. You know, before we used to have usury interest in it.
That's when they went crazy.
Yeah, and I said, look at your credit card statement and look at you're paying 35% annual percentage rate. That's before the fees. If you add the fees in, some people are paying 400, 500% interest rates. That's when they went crazy again.
Stay there. Let's explain, because that's when they really dropped the hammer, was when a couple years ago you came out against the banks right before the collapse. Kevin Trudeau's our guest. Stay with us. Kevin Trudeau, the evil one, according to the mainstream media, is here with us. And bottom line, he has his First Amendment right. And you were getting into the latest salvo you launched a few years ago before the big bust came, and they didn't like that, explaining the usury, the scams, the loan sharking that was going on. Tell us about that information that you put out.
Yeah, I knew this particularly because I actually sat on the yacht, and I told you this last time when I called in from Germany, off the coast of Barbados, when we started writing the direct mail pieces to get people to get credit cards. And we knew what was happening. We basically were given a license to steal. So my friends and I, we own some banks. So we were involved in this right from the giddy up. But the idea was we charge fees, because fees are not interest, and we could charge anything: a monthly maintenance fee, an activation fee, account review fee, an over limit fee, anything, any fee name we could come up with, we would charge you. And this is how, when you add up the fees plus the interest, plus we got the Congress to allow on credit cards, because of the potential default rate, to allow us to charge over state caps. So before you had usury interest, it used to be like 20.74 interest rate. If you charge more than that, you were a loan shark. Now we could charge 30, 40%, right on your bill, 40% annual percentage rate. We could charge you that, which is virtually enslaving people, because if you're getting charged 30 or 40% annual percentage rate, forget the fees. But if you just charge that, you can't pay it off if you pay your minimum balance. Just do the mathematics. It takes 30 years to pay it off. So if you have a $5,000 balance with the 40% annual percentage rate and the minimum monthlies, it takes 35 years to pay it off. You're an indentured slave, and you pay back $180,000 on your $5,000.
So you wrote a book exposing that. You went on TV exposing that.
Correct. And I was, of course, violently attacked. And now with the herpes cure that I'm releasing, talk about a violent attack. I mean, and then with the weight loss cure, you know, there's 4 more drugs being approved for weight loss. You don't need any of them. I lost 45 pounds in 45 days. I've kept it off for 4 years. Hundreds of thousands of people have used that cure that was developed by Dr. Simeons in 1959 that I exposed in that book. The herpes cure.
You do look super healthy for 47.
Thank you very much. The herpes cure that came out. And I haven't been sick in 25 years. And I haven't even taken an aspirin in 25 years. And I'm not a fanatic. I drink coffee, you know, I have cheeseburgers and French fries. So I'm not like a tofu burger eating, raw foodist or anything. So these things are the reason why the attacks come. They're not coming from customers who buy it. They're coming from the government who has no complaints. But it just shows you the power of the media. You know it as well as anybody. Actually, you are the king in terms of opening people's eyes to the truth. You connect with your audience. You're well-read. You have the data. You have the documentation. People trust what you say because what you say is the truth. And you are doing just an absolutely brilliant job of getting people to see that they are being slowly enslaved.
But, Kevin, it's not that hard. I mean, here's a microcosm example, and I know you're a master of understanding psychology, so explain to myself and everybody else. What is the tactic where they say, there is no world government, Alex Jones is crazy, here's 200 articles a day announcing world government saying it's good. What is the psychological system there? What are they going for?
Here's how it works. Number one, as Hitler said, a big lie repeated over and over becomes the truth. That's number one. So you have to get a big lie and you repeat it over and over. But secondly, it has to come from what's called a credible authoritative force. If you look at government buildings, you have to walk up these stairs to get to the government official. The king. It's a power. Everything is done to elicit power on the individual.
And then they're up on a big dais.
That's correct. Now, this is done very scientifically. And I know this because we were involved in how to get somebody to say something with higher authority so that you believe it. You know the amazing Kreskin?
Yes.
Okay, he's a friend of mine. That's called suggestibility. So there's a lot of ways, without putting you in a hypnotic trance, to just do something that is a suggestion where you make the person believe it, yes or no. Here's a perfect example. You go to your MD, and he gives you blood pressure medication, or he gives you high cholesterol medication. And I ask people who've read my book, why are you taking your high cholesterol medication? Because I'm following doctor's orders. I go, excuse me, I didn't know the doctor gave you orders. I thought the doctor was somebody that you hired to give their opinion.
It's a priesthood.
Correct. So people are brainwashed, and they go like, they snap out of the trance. They go, wait a minute, you're right. He's not giving me orders.
And as you know, it's even come out now in mainstream news that statins are frying people's livers and have nothing to do with cholesterol.
I explain that in my book. It's one of the biggest money-making scams at the pharmaceutical company.
Have you heard where the federal government and the Japanese government want to put statins in the water?
Of course, yes. Let's get them in there. And the reason is not to help you. It's to... we have to make human beings more trainable and easier to control. So how do we do it? We spray the air, we put things in the water, we get you to take drugs, and then we use television with mind control techniques to numb you down and affect it actually affects the dendrite size in the brain and the neurotransmitter activity, which is why kids today are virtually drones. They just do whatever they're told from the authority. They just follow blindly.
Wow, Kevin Trudeau, long segment coming up, a ton to cover. Let's get more into mind control. Let's get more into the big healthcare tyranny. Stay with us.
Primarily in Cargill is designed to make people fat and make people slower mentally.
And what's the one country in Europe that has the same statistics that we do and all the other European countries don't for unhealthiness? It's England. Exactly. England has adopted this, and they've got the same growth curve in diabetes and in cancer and in obesity and in everything.
Well, this is why national health care or national health insurance in America won't work. If you go to Sweden or Switzerland, for example, where every single person has a insurance plan that the government pays for, so the taxpayers put in. First off, they don't have any homeless people. They don't have any people that aren't paying taxes. Everybody's virtually employed over there, especially in, let's say, Switzerland. But the other thing is this. The people there don't go to doctors. They're not very sick. So if you were to take the people in America and throw them over into Switzerland, the rates that those Swiss pay in terms of national health insurance would triple because the people are sicker. So over there, the people aren't that sick. In America, they're all sick. The other reason is the drug costs and the surgical procedures in America. The drug companies charge anywhere from 5 to 10 times more than they do in Sweden or Norway or Switzerland. So when you go to a national health insurance here, it is absolutely going to bankrupt this country, but not really. What it's going to do is it's designed to do two things. To, number one, get people on drugs nonstop, and number two, get their premium so high that we virtually turn them into indentured servants. Now, every American citizen has to work just to pay for the insurance premium.
Now, again, we have the government documents. We have the white papers in the U.S. and England going back to the 20s. Bertrand Russell and others. H.G. Wells said they were going to do all this. We've allowed this scientific dictatorship, this technocracy, to come in to set this up, and it's clearly engineered by design. A lot of the world is waking up to this. Americans are waking up to this. They're trying to set examples with people like Kevin Trudeau, shutting you down, but you're now beating them. It does seem that the worm is starting to turn. Looking forward into the future, near future, mid-future, long-term, how do you see this battle, this revolution of ideas playing itself out?
Well, this is very interesting because there are multiple tracks that the power elite would like to go on. They don't really care which track or how it even skips from track to track. They want to get to this end result. We know what the end result is. But the really interesting thing in today is because we have the internet, we have the power to influence people like never before in our history. And people like you who are out there exposing what's going on and giving people facts And people are now opening their eyes little by little by little. People who've read my book, Natural Cures, you know, every single day someone comes up to me. I was on the plane coming in from L.A. The pilot came out, and he gave me a hug. And he said, because of you, I'm still flying. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, I got your book, Natural Cures. He said, I had arthritis. And because my arthritis was so bad, the mobility of my hands and pain, I couldn't run the controls. I was going to lose my pilot's license. But I learned about system Aristoliate, which is what I talk about in the book for cure for arthritis, or rheumatoid arthritis cure. I use both of them. 60 days, full mobility. My hands actually almost flattened out again. Not perfect, but no pain, full mobility. I still can fly because of you. So we're having a positive impact on people one by one by one. And I think we can win this. You know, when the government becomes such a tyranny and they apply such controlling power, those who can see it now really see it. And I think that's going to make a big difference.
I agree. It's just that we're not just saying this. I'm sure everybody's already seen it in the news. The announcements are being made that, we've got to shut down the web for your safety. And, there's going to be a new gatekeeping web where you can only visit certain sites. Or the government's going to put messages over people's websites in your browser. And, the NSA has a patch for for the new Windows. The NSA is taking over the Internet. I mean, they're openly putting up trial balloons to shut down the web. But I think the cliche of the genie being out of the bottle or the horse already leaving the barn, I think that really plays in here, but the establishment isn't going to give up without a fight.
Correct. Now, when I got sued, for example, by the FTC, I got sued twice for false and misleading advertising. Both cases, they dropped the case, and they've had a sign, there's been no finding of any wrongdoing on Mr. Trudeau's part. That's never published, okay? But that's the fact, never a finding of wrongdoing. I've been held in contempt twice, which I'm very proud of, because the court, the judge, ordered me to lie about my books. And I said, no, I won't. So I continued to say the things that I knew were true, and that's why I was found in contempt. And again, most recently, a $37 million fine and banned, which I won. But
$37 million. I said $27
million. No, $37 million. But now I'm back in court. Now here's what I was in court 2 days ago. So now the government said, since I won my appeal, they're asking the judge, forget the 37. Now they want $46 million. They want a $46 million fine, and they said, we want you to take away Mr. Trudeau. This is what the words are. Take away his First Amendment rights for life, because he's too dangerous to the American public.
How can they go into a court, the federal government, and say, take away his First Amendment rights? Well, that's one question. Secondarily, you made the point about how the FDA just makes its own laws. Here's a microcosm example. In California, Schwarzenegger couldn't get the legislature to pass a law to ban over 40-inch TVs. He just ordered the Regulatory Energy Agency to do it, and they said, we're going to put taxes on all TVs, and we're going to ban a bunch of TVs, and that was in the news yesterday.
Jonathan Emord wrote the book, I think it was Rise of Tyranny, or I'm not sure the name of the book, but he's a great attorney, and he talks about how the Congress allowed all the alphabet soup agencies to pass laws without congressional approval. We have 1 million laws in America. We have more laws per person than any other country in the world. We have more people in jail than any other country in the world. We have the highest percentage of people in jail. We have the highest percentage of convicted felons. I am one. We are a nation now, virtually the #1 police state in the world.
Did you know that over 10% of Texans have warrants out for their arrest right now?
And people need to wake up. Now, what's the answer? I think the answer is real simple. The good news, people say to me, aren't you concerned that all these people are taking the vaccine, the swine flu vaccine? Aren't you concerned? I says, no, because I'm not getting it. And if somebody wants to be an idiot and go there and take the vaccine, you know what I tell them? Take a double dose just to be safe. You know, if you're that much of a moron, take a double dose. But seriously, I mean, I'm trying to tell you, but if you're going to do it anyway, go ahead. You want to jump off the bridge? Good. You want me to help you? I mean, if you're that much of an idiot, what can we do? The good news is, you know, your family's protected. I know my family's protected. My friends are protected. And if all these other people start doing all these idiotic things, it's their own. They have nobody to blame except themselves. They have to take responsibility.
Well, he's very articulate and focused, and that's why the establishment doesn't like him, and they want to set the precedent to censor everyone else. But you also made the point that they want to scare everyone. Well, it's that chilling effect, and that's what they're doing with me. They're saying, you don't talk about the North American Union. You don't read Ban Ki-moon when he's in the New York Times calling for world government. You don't discuss this, and it's a message to those that are awake. Shut up or we'll come after you. So it's a dual message, and to the dumbed down, it's further, yes, children,
Correct.
This doesn't exist.
And what's happening, for example, Time Magazine will not run an ad for my book. They will not run an ad. USA Today will not run an ad for my book. Many television stations will not run ads for my books. So how do we shut the guy up? And here's the next scary thing. The government now is going to banks, Visa and MasterCard particularly, as well as American Express. And they're saying, stop the merchant account, shut off the merchant account of that guy who's selling books. There was one gentleman, I'm not sure where he was.
No, I've read about this.
You read about this?
Yeah.
And he was selling a book. Hey, the book you and I disagree with 100%. It's a crazy book, but the point is he has the right to write it, and he has the right to sell it. But if it's against the government now orders the Visa, MasterCard merchant accounts to shut them off. So now he can't sell it. So he can put up a website, but he can't take an order. So it's real simple to shut the guy up. Just turn the volume off.
This is 21st century 2.0 book burning.
It is 100% book burning. You attack the messenger. You ruin his credibility, which they've done to me in a huge way. But the good news is people see through it. The more that they attack me, the stronger I've become.
Kevin Trudeau, stay there. We'll be right back. Kevin Trudeau in studio for 2 more segments. Then we've got Neil Fallon, the lead singer and founder of Clutch.
All right.
One of those top 10 rock bands right now. Fans of the show. We're fans of what they do. Fall the Republic, my friend. Want to give you a copy of it on DVD?
Thank you very much. I saw the first one, The Obama Deception, and it is just you are really a brilliant documentarian, the way you produce these. And I think, again, through your radio show, your television broadcast, and these documentaries, really exposing in a very simple to understand way, eye-opening way, and entertaining way, what people need to know so they can have their eyes open so they can make different choices.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Well, people also, as you were talking about, vote with their dollars. I'm under massive attack. You're under massive attack. People need to support those of us that are being censored. I'm being censored in a lot of ways. They're trying to bully us off stations. There's a lot of dirty tricks. And, that's the real mark of somebody who's a trailblazer and doing important work. Speaking of trailblazing, for over a decade, you've been talking about gold. You've been talking about the manipulation of the banking systems. You've been talking about the private Federal Reserve. That's now coming to a head. And you've been talking to a lot of high-power billionaires and people about what they're doing in their investments. Kevin, why do we see gold going above $1,150?
Well, when it was down at $600 and $700, we were both talking about it will go over 1,000, and everybody, was laughing at us.
We're kooks.
But I remember when Kramer went on television and he said to buy Bear Stearns. Before that, about a week before, me and a couple buddies were on the phone, and we were looking at Bear and Lehman, and we said, these are factored out 31, 40 to 1. These are going down. So we shorted those companies in a massive way. And then Kramer went on TV, I think it was CNBC, and he said, buy Bear Stearns. Well, after he did that, I got a phone call from my buddy in Switzerland. He said, is this guy a moron? Or is he a complete idiot, or is he just lying?
A sucker rally.
2 days later, they went bankrupt. Bear went down, and so did Lehman within a week. After Kramer said this. Now, we had already shorted it, so we had made a huge fortune on that particular deal. Actually, it went down more than we had even thought. But gold, I had 2 guys call me, one from his estate in Dominican Republic and one from Europe. And one guy bought $8 billion, that's with a B, worth of physical hard gold over the last 8 months.
Oh, the elites are grabbing it.
Yeah, and the other guy bought $5 billion. And I said, that's a lot of your asset, percentage of your assets in physical gold. Why? And here's what their answer was. They said, look, if the Chinese make a particular move, we could lose 30% of our value here, which is okay because we still have the hard asset. But if we go someplace else and we invest in equities or the real estate market, we could lose virtually 70% or all of it. So they were looking at now, as opposed to trying to build wealth, they're looking at a very protection mode. So what's happening, some of the biggest players around the world that I know of, are taking their billions and they're moving it into particular situations to protect based on some of the things that could happen.
And by the way, you were talking about this last year. Here it is. Société Générale, one of the biggest banks in France, tells clients how to prepare for potential global collapse. And they say, basically, get gold. This is really starting to happen. This is getting scary.
It is. But, the good news is I think right now we're in a situation where if people have their eyes open and know some of the things to basically do, this over the next 2 to 5 years is going to be one of the best opportunities for wealth creation for the long term. that we will ever see in our lifetime. I think this is a brilliant thing. People just need to be aware of it. You know, you've heard about the law of attraction. It's really a misnomer. You really need to create wealth or make wealth, not attract it. That's really a misnomer, because the people that I know at the highest levels, they make and they create as opposed to try to...
Look at this quote. This is out of the London Telegraph. If so, gold would go up, 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 and the only safe haven from fiat paper currency. Private debt is also crippling. So they're saying the only thing to do here is gold, because every other currency may go down.
Yeah, and the currencies in the real estate market is going to crash. I think it's going to stay at par for the next 2 years. It could go down another 25% for sure, especially the commercial market. I have friends who have buildings, worth billions of dollars.
We're going to break for 1 minute. Let's come back in our final segment and talk about that. Well, we've got the evil Kevin Trudeau with us. Got to burn his books, got to ban him from speaking. He can't have his First Amendment. This is exciting, though, specifically. Well, first, let's finish up with real estate, but then what does it mean that you've won your appeal against the feds? I guess it just means...
I'm back in court. All it means is now it went from the appeals court, went back to the lower court, and now the government said, okay, well, they overturned the judgment because they said it was wrong, so now the judge has to restructure another judgment. Because I was found in contempt, and because I did the evil thing. My evil thing is I said the weight loss cure was easy. And that's why I was charged $37 million, because I said it was easy.
But... isn't that double jeopardy that you keep winning?
Yeah, there's a lot of legal things. This is a contempt hearing. It's not in front of a jury. I asked the judge, please charge me criminally. I asked him to charge me criminally. I gave him an offer. I said, charge me criminally in front of a jury, and if I'm found guilty, I will give away my First Amendment rights. I said, that's my offer. Charge me criminally. Put me in front of a jury. The judge laughed. I said, I'm willing to give you a deal here, Your Honor. Charge me criminally, criminal contempt. And put me in front of a real jury, because you know that they're going to say, easy? First off, I got 100,000 people that said the weight loss cure was easy. That's number one. But here's the best part. The judge said, I read the book, The Weight Loss Cure, and I don't think it's easy at all. I said, excuse me, Your Honor.
So he's now the judge of everything.
That's correct. I said,
no jury.
I said, you read my book, which is protected by the First Amendment, and you don't like the way it was written? He said, well, I don't think it's easy. I said, did you do the weight loss cure in the book? No. How do you know if it was easy? I said, and even if you did it, it's irrelevant. I said it was easy. There's 100,000 other people that said it was easy. It's subjective. It's my opinion. It's protected by the First Amendment. He said, no, I think everybody who bought that book was defrauded, and therefore I'm fining you $37 million. He says, you're dangerous to society.
But the government can't find plaintiffs. They've got to come after you themselves.
Exactly. There's no people out there. There were tens of thousands of letters written to the judge from people who said, you insane? I did the diet. It was easy. I lost a pound a day. I kept it off. It's the best thing that ever happened. Thank God for Kevin Trudeau and his books. And the judge said, well, those aren't going into the record. But this just shows you, and it's not about me, it just shows you that if...
Well, it's about everybody.
It can happen to me, it can happen to the next guy. You know, when the Gestapo went in and took your neighbor, you said, well, they must have done something wrong. Guess what? You're next. You're next. And that's what's happening in America. You heard about the feds going to the guy's house who was complaining at a town hall meeting, and he was on Fox News, and he said, last night, goons from the federal government came to my house at 2:30 in the morning, threatened me and my family.
No, that happened here. That just happened. That's happening to everybody.
And let me tell you, up until now, no one has been. It's like, why is Area 51? Why was Roswell? Why are these people afraid to say anything? Because they get direct threats. Why was Ross Perot dropped out of the race?
They threatened to kill his family.
And he said it right on national television on Larry King. I've had people come to my house in the middle of the night. I have a little bit of an advantage. Number one, and I won't get into it now, but I have a big advantage of why I can't be attacked in certain ways. But the attack that's against me is by using the media to demonize me and get people to stop doing business with me on a big, and trying to get the public to stop buying my book.
They're trying to run a blockade against you, a siege.
Correct, yeah.
It's like sanctions on Iraq for 18 years.
Correct. And, you know, the good thing is, I know that what I'm doing is good. My books, hey, you may read the book, you may not like the book, you may not believe what I say in the book, but the point is I have the right to write a book called Natural Cures. I have a right to give you the herpes cure and say this is the cure. I have a First Amendment right to do that. I expose the banking industry. I have a new book coming out, Your Wish is Your Command, where I talk about the law of attraction and how to create whatever you want, which was hidden by Bilderberg Group. They don't want that information out. And I'm sharing information that I know personally, that I've used, that my friends have used to create wealth and better their lives. The government simply doesn't want people to know these alternatives, and not just that they work, but they don't want people to think.
KevinTrudeau.com. Check it out for yourself. And all things Kevin Trudeau. Kevin, I certainly hope they don't burn all your books, and I certainly hope they don't remove your free speech, because whether you're right or wrong, you've got that First Amendment right, and if you lose your right, I lose my rights. That's why we're standing beside you, my friend. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. You're doing a fantastic job.
You bet. Okay, we got...
Wasn't that, I'll tell you what, you watch that and you're like, I was prophesizing everything for the future. I was telling everything there is now come to pass. When you understand how it works, it's a little bit mind-boggling. On either the next show or the show after, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be telling you really how it works, how the structure works with the Brotherhood, the Bilderberg Group, Skull and Bones at Yale University, the secret societies, Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission. I'll explain how these organizations work, primarily in the U.S. and in Europe, but also all around the world. How it really does work. It will blow your mind. And this is why it's so humorous when people are saying, you know, all the politics and the elections. It really doesn't matter. The globalist system is in full play, and the powers that be control everything. The only thing is, they can't control your mind if you don't let them, but you are allowing them to. And if you cannot allow them to control your mind, you'll be free. So more on that in the next couple weeks. Make sure you subscribe, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave comments on other people's comments, and share this with everyone you know. You have to post it on your Instagram and X and Facebook, post it on your channels, tell people about it, email it to people, go on your phone and just text the link to everybody there. Email it to everybody you know. You got to do some work here because we got to get these numbers up. If these numbers ain't going up, you know, I know this stuff. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you. I'm Kevin Trudeau. Thanks for watching. This is the show where you learn everything they don't want you to know and have some fun in the process and always feel better at the end than when you started. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.